Welcome to the Connection is the Medicine podcast. I am your host, Eaden Shantay, and today I welcome Deva Shantay, my wife and partner in our foundation, Connection is the Medicine. Welcome, Deva.
Thank you.
So today we are going to be talking about connection in all of its forms, connection to ourselves, each other, the natural world and spirit, and the medicine that we can cultivate through this connection. We're living in a time of great disconnection, and there isn't a better time for us to go within and work this process of connecting to ourselves and to Source, and connecting more deeply with the purpose of why we're here so that we can be of service in the world. Deva, maybe we could start out with you sharing the ways that you connect with yourself.
Every day I wake up, and before I even get out of bed, I always if I'm on my side, I roll over on my back. I take one hand on my heart, the other hand on my belly, and I really just take inventory. It's also the time that I reflect on any dreams that I had that night. So it's usually the dreams first if I'm remembering one. And then I do a body scan where I just start at my physical body and then I move through my energetic and my mental. I scan myself that way. I also scan my day where I do a reflection on how my day ended the day before and what I want to take from it. And then I think about the current day and I mentally go through my to-do list of what meetings I have or what work I might be doing that day. Kind of just do a little gentle run through of the day, and then I set an intention for the day. I actively ask myself, how do I want to show up today? And then I breathe a little bit, and then I'm ready to get out of bed. My connection to myself starts the second I wake up from sleep.
And about how long do you think you work through that process? Is that 5 minutes or 10 minutes?
Yeah, I would say it's 5 to 10 minutes. I have found, though, that some days I need to really process some dreams. Some days I have some really profound dreams, and I might find myself needing to lay there for 15 minutes, just digesting them in some way, shape, or form through my dream, and I need a minute to assimilate it. Overall, it's about 5 minutes time, but some days it can be 15.
And so what do you think the benefit of you taking this time to do this connection right upon waking?
I've just noticed that when I do it, it gives me an anchor for the day where I'm just aware of what I can expect for the day ahead for myself and with others, because I've already run through who I'm having sessions with, because their energy will impact me. So it's just, I'm aware of that. And I'm taking inventory of how I'm feeling, because that's going to impact the practices that I do upon waking. Because I practice dinacharya every day, which is the practice of Ayurvedic daily rituals. And so if upon waking I have a headache, I'm going to treat myself differently than if I didn't have a headache. And sometimes I wake up and I might feel congestion from the way that I lived the day before, whether it be staying up too late or eating foods that didn't agree with me or whatever it may be. Or maybe I'm feeling a little lethargic because I'm not feeling well, or I just traveled and I'm tired, or feeling that heaviness that comes at the beginning of my monthly cycle. And so when I take that inventory, I'm aware of what's happening for me physically and energetically and even emotionally. And so then when I go into the bathroom and I'm beginning my daily rituals of purification practices, it already kind of lets me know if I feel like I need to sit in the sauna that day, or if I need to do dry brushing and body scrubbing, or if I need a vigorous yoga practice, or if I'm feeling lethargic, I need a more gentle yoga practice. If my mind is really scattered and all over the place, it lets me know that I might need to use pranayama to help center myself. And so I prioritize that before a meditation practice. I really give myself a large amount of time every single morning to center myself.
Thank you. A couple of words that I'd like to share with our guests, the definition of, just because some of them might not know. If you could explain what Ayurveda is, what Dinacharya is, and then pranayama.
So Ayurveda is the science of life. It's an ancient medical system that originates from India, and it predates all other medical systems. Even Chinese medicine essentially comes from Ayurveda. And it's a practice that I study and have been studying for over 20 years and have truly seen the benefits of the wisdom that comes from this study. And Dinacharya it's the daily rituals, it's purification practices. They're practices that you do to balance the elements in your body that make you up: air, water, space, earth, fire. And pranayama is the science of breath. So pranayama just means breathing exercises. And we utilize specific breathing exercises to balance energies. So if I'm feeling dull and lethargic, heavy and dense, that's more earthy qualities, earth and water, then I might bring in a more fiery practice to move that energy up and create more air and space so there's some levity.
What I'm getting from listening to you is that this process of connection that you're exploring has a couple of essential components. One being connecting within, another being a process of self-reflection. And then you also mentioned the word awareness. What's nice is that through you describing your process, we're beginning to get a sense of what the process of connection is all about.
I really think that if we start at our physical body, we need an entry point for connection. And not everybody is able to connect to their deepest, highest self right away. That's why we get so thrown when we're sick. Sickness, illness, disease is the fastest way to disconnect from our higher self, because we feel pain and all we can think about is pain and discomfort. And so I always begin with the physical. I do a physical body scan, like how is my physical body? Because when you notice that your throat is scratchy and itchy, I could stay right there and just be like, oh, I have a sore throat. That's one level of connection. Or I can start to ask myself, why do I have a sore throat? And then maybe I become aware of some emotions that I didn't speak the day before, or uncomfortableness that I felt interacting with another person, or something that I'm going through that I'm afraid to confront. Whatever it may be, it's just emotions getting caught in the throat, which then can lead to a sore throat. And then I can take it further, where I can then ask myself, okay, is that true? Is it really hard for me to talk to that person, or am I afraid? What's caught in there? Like, you can just keep asking why. And then we can go further. We can get past the physical. It's not, I just had knee surgery. Why did you have surgery? I answer most people in the physical. Oh, because I hurt my knees. How did you hurt your knees? Running. And they usually stop with that question. Oh, running. Yeah, they understand. But very few people ask me, why were you running? You know, that would be taking that level of connection to another level. That's going deeper. Why was I running? What emotion was present? What mental component was there with my running? And so connecting is a broad topic. I think that we're all connecting at different levels depending on where we're at in that moment, in that day, in that comfort level. I really dislike small talk because I feel like that's a shallow level of connecting with a person. Because when somebody sees you in a grocery store and they say, "Oh my God, Deva, how are you?" So you have a decision to make in that moment. How deeply do you know that person? How deeply do you want to connect with that person? How quickly do you want to get out of that store? What agenda do you have behind it? And so most of us just answer on a very superficial level of connection, and we say, "I'm good. How are you?" And then we follow it with, "Good to see you," which I don't know, is that true? I try to be as authentic as I can with my speech, but there are moments that I'm confronted with another individual that I really don't want to connect with, and I just want to get out of that moment of connection as quick as possible. And so I'll say whatever needs to be said to move on. That's a superficial level of connecting. And going deeper would be, I erase my calendar for the rest of that day because I just ran into a person at the store and they asked me how I was, and I opened up to them and I let them know something that I'm going through, and we sat down and we had a cup of tea and we processed. Like there's a deeper level of connecting there. But how busy are we now in our lives? We don't allow those moments. It has to be scheduled because we've made ourselves so busy that connection is something we have to plan out. And then it's dead. Planned connection has a deadness to it because those unexpected moments with a person, Spirit designed that. And we are here to say yes to it and not let our thoughts block us from what could be an incredible moment of connection if we were to say yes to it and allow the depth to happen.
And so when I'm listening to you, when I first started out, I spoke about these 4, let's call them pathways of connection: connection to self, connection to each other, like you were just talking about, connection to nature, and connection to spirit. But then within ourselves, if we just took that first category, we have, at least from the yogic tradition, 5 different sheaths that we can connect with. So we have the physical, the energetic or the subtle energy, which many associate with the breath, but it's all of the inner working systems. We have the emotional realm, we have the intellectual realm, and we have the spiritual realm. And so as you're talking about this first doorway, physical connection to self, there's these 5 other doorways within that connective process. So I just wanted to reflect upon that, but I also didn't want to lose the timeline of that first 5 to 10 minutes of your day of connection, and then you getting out of bed, then what in terms of connection?
Then I move through my daily practices of purification. And so that's what most people are typically doing, of brushing the teeth and washing the body. So it's a physical moment, cleansing the physical body. And the reason that we spend this time cleansing the physical body, the real reason behind it, the superficial reason, is so that I don't have bad breath and I don't have a stinky body and all of this. But truth be told, if your physical body is working properly, so I've aided the elimination from all of my orifices, then the energetic can move through more freely.
Which is that second sheath that I was just talking about. So cleansing the physical to allow the energetic, the subtle energy, to begin to move.
Because when energy is stuck, that is depressed energy. When our energy gets stuck, dis-ease sets in. And so if we can cleanse the physical, and by cleansing the physical, like just think of it like a stuffy nose. When you can't breathe well, it affects you. It not only, the stuffy nose causes your voice to change, but it causes everything about you to shift through that day. The way you interact with yourself, the way you interact with people, the heaviness in your head, And when your head doesn't feel clear, you can't interact in the same way that you would with a clear head. You feel foggy. Then most people reach for stimulants, which then alters our baseline. And so then we're altered because we had this. But imagine if you used a neti pot, which is the little vessel that you put a little saline salt solution and you wash out the inside of your nose with it. It's a very ancient thing. But imagine if with that stuffy nose, you cleanse your nose and you remove that stuffiness and then you have a clear head. You don't have to do all that other stuff. You're not needing a stimulant to clear the head because you already feel clear. And so your day moves in such a more graceful way than allowing that congestion to be there.
And congestion or inflammation is one of the biggest causes of disease. And so with this practice...
Would you just break it down to, it's a blockage. It's an inflamed block of some sort of passageway in the body.
Thus leading to a blockage of the subtle energy that's flowing through the body that's essentially our life force.
And cancer does not exist in an oxygenated environment. You've got to break that down. Cancer, which are cells that are attacking yourself in some way, shape, or form, they're not operating in the harmonious way we want. Cancer does not exist in an oxygenated environment. Oxygenated environments are energy environments. It's where your energy is flowing. And so right now, as somebody might be listening to this podcast, all they have to do is connect to the breath and then witness, is it deep? Deep means, does it fill your chest cavity? Does it fill your lungs front and back, top and bottom? Very few people breathe front and back. Very few people breathe into the sides. And so we're usually breathing up high in our chest. And if we're breathing high in our chest, then we do not have enough oxygen flowing in the full capacity of the lungs, which means our energy is not flowing, but also that means our circulation. Our heart needs breath. It needs oxygen to be able to pump through the heart and to be able to move your blood and your cells and feed everything. You keep that going and you keep looking at, why do we have so many issues? Why is stress such a cause of disease? Stress is constricting everything. Stress is shortening the breath, tightening the chest.
We're in this chronic state of fight or flight, and it's constricting the flow of energy in the body.
And would we be in such a state of fight or flight if each one of us, before we got out of bed in the morning, took inventory of where we're at and made conscious decisions to shift the energy in the ways it needs to be shifted? Make those choices, make those changes that we need. If you're tired and lethargic, how do you support that? How do you alleviate that? But it also can't happen necessarily in that moment, because being lethargic might come from weeks of overworking yourself. But when you realize that is something happening to you because you took inventory, that moment when you woke up in the morning and you realize, I'm exhausted, that does open up a doorway that gives you an opportunity for you to make a different choice.
And so you're bringing into this conversation about connection, this idea of taking the time right out of the gate in the morning when you wake up to self-reflect. And then through that process of self-reflection, then being able to use free will choice to choose the direction or the activities or the way that we want to move in the world in that day. It's beginning to paint a picture to me of how important it is to take those 5 or 10 minutes at the very beginning of the day to self-reflect and set intention about how we want to live and be in the world.
I think it's vital. And if you don't do it right when you wake up, like you forget, do it while you're brushing your teeth.
What's interesting is that in our culture, and I fall prey to this, and I'm actually working on this right now. In fact, you and I had a conversation about this morning, about how enticing it is to grab the phone. As soon as you open your eyes, of course, you're potentially shutting your alarm off. That's maybe on that phone. But then beginning the scrolling and the connecting with something outside of ourselves versus this process of personal inventory that you're talking about. What an incredible choice we have right there about whether we go to door number 1 or door number 2.
Yeah. We need to choose us more than we choose any external environment. We need to choose our environment.
We need to begin the process rooted in the self, connected to the self, connected to the body, the breath, the heart, the mind, and the spirit.
And time is a privilege that a lot of people don't have. Don't not do the connection because you don't have enough time. Realize you can do it anytime. You know, people commuting to work, you can take your bus time, you can take your Uber time, you can take your car time to do the same thing, that you do a body scan and you check in with your breath and you ask yourself, what are my goals for today? I also think gratitude is an important practice. It does rewire the brain. You know, science has been studying that, the power of having a gratitude practice and just naming 3 things you're grateful for. And so that's another part of that morning 5 to 10 minutes of connecting. But I think that when we reflect on our day, it gives us an opportunity to steer the energy in a direction that comes from us making a conscious decision instead of it being an unconscious reaction if we don't have any driving like affirmation for the day.
What's coming up for me is, I know you do a lot of cooking. You're also an Ayurvedic chef. And so what's coming up for me is this whole concept of the ingredients of the meal that we want to create. And the meal is our life. And do we wake up right out of the gate rushing? Do we wake up and engage with our phone? Do we connect with ourselves? Do we set intention? Do we have a gratitude practice where we're connecting not with lack and scarcity about what we wish we had, but we're connecting with what am I truly grateful for? And it can be the simplest things, because essentially what we're doing is we're cultivating in that meal that we're creating, we're putting in that ingredient of gratitude. The vibration of gratitude is a very high vibration. And so we're adding that ingredient. And then as we get out of the bed and we've already said no to the phone and we're connecting with ourselves, setting our intention, reflecting upon where we've been, where we are, where we want to go, cultivating some gratitude for the miracle of being alive, and then moving into the bathroom. Now we're talking about the difference between just simply throwing on the clothes, heading to the kitchen, maybe eating a quick packaged meal, throwing stimulants on that, and then rushing out the door while we're doom scrolling or listening to something and we're off. And that's how we're starting, versus what you're offering right now, this whole different meal that you want to prepare, which is your life and how you want to live that life. With regards to connection, I'd love to know a little bit more about the ways throughout the day that you connect with what you're feeling, what you're thinking, the spiritual side of life.
I always have my yoga practice. Yoga has been one of the best practices to connect. It's all the levels of the being, like you were talking about. So it's the physical, but then it's also moving the energetics and allowing my breath to deepen. And then through the process, it allows me to connect in deeper to emotions or thoughts and really connect deeply with myself and the unseen energies that are out there. So yoga is a staple. It's something that I do every day, whether I'm traveling or I'm at home. Having that stable foundation allows me to connect into all levels of my being, the physical, the energetics, my emotions, my thought patterns, and also reaching that deep sense of peace. Pretty much always leave my yoga mat just feeling a little bit more peaceful, less stress, and more relaxed. So it just stabilizes me for the day. I like to start my day with yoga for that reason.
I think a lot of people think yoga is a physical practice.
I started off in my yoga career, I've went so many different angles with it from all the different lineages that I've studied with and practiced before. And there was a definite time that it was a physical practice, one where I was wanting to master arm balances and handstands, all those level 3 postures that really garner attention and they get great photos, and those apex poses you put in a class that just really wow the students. But my personal practice isn't about that. I don't use yoga as my exercise. Yoga is my vehicle for connecting to myself, to integrating my energies. It's a moving meditation for me more than it is physical exercise. I do my own practice where I'm able to really go inward and connect.
Thank you for sharing that about yoga. I also would love to hear a little bit about cooking, why cooking is important to you and how that helps you connect.
Food is fuel. That's the only reason we're eating. And the more subtle we become, the less physical food we will need. I really see the impact of food and my health and my well-being. And when I am feeling my best and I'm feeling most grounded and most open and clear, then I can serve the world in such a better way. I'm not as tired and stressed, and we're here to give back. I really believe each of us has some way that we are intended on giving back to the world. And there's so many different ways that we can give back. I was designed in a certain way to share with the world. And so the best thing we can do is figure out why we were created the way that we are and utilize that to go forward and just share us. And then we will support the whole. But we can't do that if we're not healthy. Health is key. I found that I was doing a lot of suffering when I had so many digestive issues. I was in a constant state of suffering because I was severely constipated. And constipation leads to so much pain and mental confusion because you're foggy in your head because you're not releasing your waste. And you're always feeling bloated and tight in the belly. And when you eat, it hurts. I had severe stomach issues the majority of my life. And so you just never really feel good. And if you don't feel good, you don't want to do things. So that's where cooking comes from. It's like taking charge of your health, because when you're eating somebody else's cooking or something packaged that you're reheating, you don't really know what's in it. You don't know what kind of energy that person was in when they fixed it. If you've ever been at the back side of a restaurant where you see the kitchen, they're usually extremely stressful environments, and that's going into your food. And so when I'm cooking at home, it's the energy that I'm in. It's that state of being. Cooking makes me happy. I love taking the time. I find it creative because I'm experimenting and I'm trying out new things, trusting yourself to experiment, because if you don't experiment, then it's going to become monotonous, and then that's boring, and then that's going to lead you to want something else. So I find that cooking for me it's like a full contact sport, because it's tackling all levels of my being. It's physical, it's energetic, it's emotional. I'm really tapping into innate wisdom. You have to tap into a part of yourself that may be dormant, because nature has this knowledge that the more that you are connected to nature, the deeper you go in your cooking, where when you begin farming your own food, whether it be just some herbs or whether it be a garden out in your yard, or you're getting your own eggs from your chickens, you start to really learn about this cohesiveness that exists that you don't witness and see when you go to the supermarket and you pick up your fruits and vegetables. Food starts to communicate to you. I don't taste my food when I'm cooking, but I can taste it in my head. It's like I know what those flavors are going to do together. The more you cook, there's a knowing about what it's going to turn out like. And still sometimes I oversalt the food, or I undersalt, or I wish I would have had a little bit more spice, but you can't go back. But it's okay. It's like just part of this process. So it's an experimentation that connects me not only to myself, but I'm connecting to the plants that I'm cooking. I do it very mindfully. I'm very aware if I decide to consume an animal product, I'm very aware of where it came from. It's another level of connection when you take charge of your food. The level of connection goes deeper and deeper, because then you become excited about meeting the farmer that just gave you this product.
Yes.
You don't want to shop at the supermarket anymore. You want the farmer's market. And then at the farmer's market, you establish a relationship. And there's nothing more special than being gifted, somebody that has an olive oil farm in Italy, and they show you their olive oil that they made at that farm. You treasure that olive oil a lot more than the supermarket olive oil. It becomes special olive oil that you only use for special meals. And that's this deeper level of connection. And then when you eat your food, it's different than if I were to go to some sandwich shop and I order a foot-long sub and I'm sitting down eating it. I have no connection to that food. I have no connection to the people that made it. I have no connection to anything. It's just substance. Wow. It's got very little prana in it, because when you eat at restaurants, they're finding the ways to produce the food the fastest. So a lot of that food is not fresh. It's old. It's just being reheated and handed to you. And I cook fresh every day, because then I have the life force of that food in my meal. It's alive. And that's one reason why I really wanted to move to Costa Rica. It's for food, because when we previously lived in Colorado, it's hard to grow food in that environment. Your growing window is very small, and then you have to look at building a greenhouse. And here, we seriously just have to throw seed out. And we're going to have too much food.
Yeah.
And I find that challenge to be very exciting, because there's this connection. When you have 3 papayas and they're going bad, and you've got to figure out, what can I make? You start to get creative, and there's an inspiration there for me. It becomes this beautiful heart connection. And when you make it yourself, you're a part of that whole process. And everyone ends up wanting to go deeper. I read some statement by somebody. You start to cook in the kitchen, then you want some chickens, and then you get your own eggs, and then you want to start making your own bread, and then you've got your sourdough starter, which is alive, by the way. You have to feed it all the time. You have to take care of it. And then once you get your sourdough starter, then you start to want your garden, you want your farm, it just keeps going deeper. It's enlivened this passion inside of me to create as much as possible from complete scratch. If I could have a cow, a Loma Sagrada cow, I would have a cow so that we could milk it every day and start from scratch with that milk and that butter and that yogurt and that ghee.
And the cheese.
And the cheese, the fresh paneer, all of it. I would do that in a heartbeat. When I think about where my stress comes from in life, I don't find stress in that. I know there would be. There'd be stress. I'd be tired. I wouldn't want to go milk the cow that day or something. But I feel like I'm a lot more stressed the further away from that connection I get. Computers stress me out. I just feel disconnected working on my computer, even though I'm creating content to connect. I still would love to get rid of that side of the process. I would love to never touch my phone. I am the last generation that had a childhood without phones. When I grew up, we still had the corded phones with the mile-long cord that you stretched into your bedroom to try and get an ounce of privacy. I'm really thankful that I had that. I know what it's like to not have a phone. I went through college without a phone. Nobody knew where I was. And now you're carrying it with you. You're attached at the hip to it. And we make all these statements that we need it. You know, what if the kids need me? And it's like, my parents didn't know where I was all day long.
Oh, I know.
They didn't know where I was.
And be home for dinner, right?
Yeah, 6 o'clock. You didn't wear a watch. You knew what time 6 o'clock was. And if you were late, you were in trouble. But you made it home. 99% of the time, you were there for that dinner.
Yeah.
Without having to be called and reminded. And we didn't have any of that. You were accountable. I feel the resistance to technology in that because I feel the stress from it. I do. I'm very sensitive. That's why I can do the work I do in the world. My sensitivity level is extremely high, and I feel the radiation from all the devices, and I get great headaches when I go into cities with all the Wi-Fi that's everywhere and everything because it disconnects us. We're not connected with those frequencies running around.
How could it connect me if I'm feeling worse in those artificial frequencies? How can I connect?
That's why I believe it all starts with us taking care of our physical bodies. Because if we don't feel well, you just can't connect. You need health to connect.
And the food that you're talking about, the practices of meditation and yoga and the self-reflection, self-inquiry that you're talking about, time in nature. God, that's a huge topic that we're not going to be able to touch on today, and all the spiritual practices as well. I'm wondering if you could just share a few short pieces about the Connection is the Medicine Foundation. For example, True Nature Healing Arts in Carbondale, Colorado, Loma Sagrada here in Costa Rica, you and I and our relationship to it, and the initiatives that we want to bring into the world.
I love the title of the foundation because it's the mission. Connection is the medicine. Originally, that didn't come to us for the foundation. It came to us when you're initially talking about doing this podcast, and you have a gift of sitting with people and talking to them. And it just was a natural thing of thinking of, oh, you should totally record some of these conversations because people would want to hear them. And you and I led a workshop called Connection is the Medicine a year ago. And when that phrase came into our being, you can't discount that. I don't think anybody can say the way through is disconnection. I don't think you can fight this. Connection is the medicine. It's everything. Whatever level of being you are currently embarking on, as you connect at that level, you will feel better. It's the first thing. If somebody's having a panic attack, you need them to become aware of their breath. And so you remember back in the day when you'd be handed a paper bag. Oh, breathe into this paper bag. Why are they doing that? One, you get to see that bag inflate and deflate. You're witnessing what your lungs are doing, essentially, and it brings you into connection with your physical and your energetic being, the breath, body. And by bringing that connection back, their panic attack goes away. Everything is solved by our awareness turning inward. But some of us we're just caught in the physical. And maybe awareness turning inward on the physical looks like having that morning cup of coffee that wakes you up and you look forward to. What if you just sat down and had your cup of coffee? In Japan, they don't have to-go cups. If you order a matcha, you are drinking that matcha. You don't have a to-go cup. Italy's the same. You get your coffees, you sit, you enjoy it. This is part of the culture. In America, which is one of the sickest nations, for us being so advanced, we're very sick.
Yes, we are.
And you got to ask, what are we doing that's causing this sickness? Nobody has enough time. Everybody's rushing around. Nobody's getting enough sleep. Everybody's tired and exhausted. We're pushing through. And so connection is the medicine. So if you're the coffee drinker that needs the coffee to get going in the day, all I'm asking you to do is sit and have it. And that level of connection, let's let it go deeper. Let's just take the cup of coffee. So instead of putting it in a thermos and sipping it on the go while, let's be honest, a lot of people are texting and driving. We're distracted. Instead of trying to move through and accomplish all these tasks while you're making it into work so that you can put in your at least 8 hours, 9 hours, 10-hour day that doesn't give you enough time to work out. You're not resting. You're not having a sit-down lunch. You're moving and eating. You're taking your food on the go. Or you're eating while you're working, which is a horrible way for your digestive system to work. Let's back it up. Let's just change one thing. You don't drive and drink that cup of coffee or whatever your morning beverage is. You sit and you have it. And let's take the level of connection deeper. Get a mug. Don't drink it out of a paper cup, a toxic paper cup that's giving you microplastics into your system that then is filling our landfill. Like, this is disconnect. Instead, drink out of your favorite cup. Find a favorite cup. I want you to go find a local potter, and I want you to invest in a cup that has their blood, sweat, and tears in it. And it warrants the price tag that they're charging because of the time it takes for them to make that cup. It's not a mass-produced cup. This is a handmade cup. And I'm telling you, if you take that warm beverage, whatever in the heck it is, it could be just a hot cup of water with nothing else in it. It's the most medicinal drink on the planet. Clean water.
As long as it's purified water, not city water.
It's not tap water.
Yeah.
But you take that warm beverage, because we all need a warm beverage. We need to warm up and lubricate our channels of our body so that we're purified. Open that physical channel so that our energy can flow through it. So you take that warm beverage, you put it in your new sacred cup. I promise you'll feel better.
Yeah, and put the phone aside while you're drinking it.
You want to look at that cup. That cup it's going to be a thing of art. This is your cup. You invested in this experience. You're going to find you don't want the phone as much because you're infatuated with the drink and the cup. And you don't have to take long. It could be 5 minutes. And in that 5 minutes, you take 5 breaths. But you're thinking about them. So once again, we're connecting to our breath. You take 5 breaths. I guarantee when you take those 5 breaths and you sip on that warm beverage in your special mug, all of a sudden you're going to feel something. It could be sadness. It could be joy. It could be discomfort. It could be a multitude of things. There could be anger. It doesn't matter. It's just that you're feeling, because dormant, hidden feelings cause problems for us. And so all of a sudden, you're sipping your warm beverage and you enjoy it. It needs to be something you enjoy. Make it enjoyable in your special mug that's sacred to you. Nobody else uses that mug. It's yours.
Yeah.
You've taken your 5 breaths. You're all of a sudden tapped into your feelings. And maybe you end that cup with that last sip where you set an intention for your day. And lo and behold, you just had a meditation practice. That's it. I should trademark that. I should sell that. That's a meditation practice right then and there. That is connecting. And essentially in that 5, 10, 15 minutes, whatever you can set aside for yourself as your sacred connection time in the morning, you just created a moment of connection which will have a greater impact to your life than you can even know.
Yeah, the smallest things can have the greatest impact.
Yeah, I think that morning beverage is very powerful.
Yeah. Let's transition back to the foundation. Tell us just a little bit about what the foundation means to you and these two sacred spaces in Costa Rica and in Colorado that serve the initiatives of this foundation?
We have 2 locations that our offerings may take part in, but I don't see this foundation limited to time and space.
Connection is beyond time and space.
We don't have to be offering something in a physical location for it to be part of this mission. And so we have 2 completely unique spaces with a similar mission behind it, you and I creating both of them. And we have a certain level of aesthetic and layout design. We value sacred spaces so much that we put great attention and awareness into creating them.
Attention and awareness, a couple of important words.
It's very powerful to sit in sacred space. The way that a space feels is very important to the function of a space. And it's something that you and I just innately, it's just part of us, that we have a knowledge, a wisdom around creating sacred space. It comes from both of us in different ways. The way true nature feels is really different than how Loma Sagrada feels. The environments, one being in the mountains and one being by the ocean, completely different environments, yet they both hold healing, connection, integration so well. Being able to integrate knowledge and wisdom is really important, and you have to have a space that allows for that integration to happen, that allows a participant to rest. And beauty does that. Inspiration is a key component to these spaces. I mean, they inspire people.
These 2 locations are containers, they're sacred spaces which allow people to connect with themselves, each other, the natural world,
Yeah.
and source or spirit. And that is really the essence of this mission, is creating these sacred spaces and cultivating these opportunities for people to connect with the truth of who they are, which is so inspiring, which lifts people and motivates them to move forward into the world. What I love that I'm working on in my life in particular is this whole transition from 3rd chakra to 4th chakra, from the egoic will center into the heart center, this movement from service to self to service to other. And our whole planet is in this transitional phase of moving from service to self to service to other. And so I'm so grateful to be co-creating with you and the beautiful souls in Colorado and here in Costa Rica that are helping us, that are inspired, that want to be of service to other people.
Yeah, I really think that the mission of the foundation, connection is the medicine, but it's inspiration, connection, and self-discovery that's underneath that. If you're inspired, inspiration is an upward movement. It's not a downward depression movement. It's an upward. I'm inspired. If you have this desire to connect, we all have a desire to connect. None of us want to feel disconnected. We don't want to feel lost. We want to feel found. We want to feel whole. We want to feel good about ourselves. The best way out of feeling bad is to connect. That's why we're made to connect with other humans. We're not really made to isolate and live alone.
I love what you're saying. What this is touching for me right now is that connection is the medicine. And there's these ways of helping us reconnect. But essentially what we're reconnecting with is what is already here.
Yeah.
And so the connection is the medicine, is a reconnection with the medicine of who we are. The medicine that comes when we're connected to all that is, the truth of who we are and source. So connection is the medicine, but it's also reconnecting with what's already here.
That's the teaching. You are what you've been searching for.
Yes.
It's been right here all along. That's an easy thing to say, but when you're sick and suffering,
Yeah.
When you're struggling, when you can't make ends meet, when you can't pay your bills, it's easy for someone to say, you are what you've been searching for. Just tap in. That's why it's very important that we recognize that every human being is at their own unique level and that we have to meet them where they're at.
Yes.
And that's the importance of the different kind of programming or offerings that come through the foundation. They're there to meet you where you're at, because not everybody can sit in a room and talk about spiritual wisdom that comes from the Vedas, that's 5,000, 10,000, 20,000 years old, written in these ancient texts. Very few people can sit there and do that. Very few people have the privilege to take the time out of their life to sit there and do that. That's part of the mission of this foundation, is meeting people where they're at.
Creating a bridge.
Creating programming offerings that allows you to feel moments of connection in whatever pocket of time you have. It's not as if every offering is a week-long retreat. There are centers here in Costa Rica that the only way you're going to step foot in that center to study in that surrounding is to take part in a week-long personal retreat. And that limits a vast majority of the population. With all of these like-minded souls that are helping with this foundation, programming is being created that allows you to pop into something, maybe just for an hour or a few hours a day. Some of the programming is free. The goal of the foundation is to make it accessible to as many people as possible, not just upper class that has available funds, but to everyone that needs it. And that's the importance of a nonprofit, is being able to meet all levels of people, but it can't happen without support from the community.
Yes.
And the health of our world is reliant on all of us serving. So if you've been given the gift of financial abundance, that might be your way of giving back. But maybe you don't have financial abundance and you've been given this ability to speak and connect to people. And maybe you offer things in that way, shape, or form.
Yeah.
Or maybe you're a hands-on person that you just want to step in and volunteer and give back by the use of your hands.
Yeah.
So we've all been given ways of sharing with our community. And if we remember, connection is the medicine, and we are asking ourselves, how am I designed to give back?
Yes.
And we step forward and we do that. We are healing the fundamental problem of disconnection. That's a fundamental problem that we can alleviate. But first you have to do it with yourself before you can do it with another.
Yeah.
It starts with us. And so the work of this foundation feels limitless because there are so many ways of connecting.
Yeah. And a lot of times we're connecting through the challenges that we face. At True Nature, there was just this incredible couple of different programs around grief. One of them related to a suicide that happened to a young man in the agricultural industry. And so these salt of the earth people got together, I think 50 or 60 people at True Nature in Carbondale, and they used the challenge of the suicide and the challenges that people in the agricultural industry are facing to connect. So the challenges that we face can actually be the doorways in to connecting deeper with the medicine that's inherently inside of us.
I believe that is exactly why they're there. I believe that if you ask why to any challenge in your life, you're going to find that doorway in. You can do it with anything. You know, after eating a meal, your stomach hurts, it feels bloated and heavy. Why is my stomach hurt? Like, we have to start to ask questions, but that is connecting in.
Yes.
Not disconnecting and instead going, oh, I need a pill to take away the bloating in my stomach. That's not actually connecting, and that's not actually fixing your problem. It's just going to cause this problem to come up again and again. And then you always have to carry those pills with you. So what if every challenge we face, we ask the question, why? And there's many ways of asking the whys. Sometimes people use journaling to ask that. I just use my mind. I just ask, why is this happening? And I intuitively feel how my body speaks, because your body will speak.
Yes, spirit will respond if we give the space and the quiet. If we create environment to allow spirit to respond to us, spirit will respond to us in a variety of ways.
And I do believe we're all intuitive. I just believe we're so disconnected from our innate intuition. I believe we're all intuitive. The animal kingdom is extremely intuitive. How do all the animals have it and we don't? Only a few of us have it. We have been taken away from the connection to nature. The further away you get, the less intuitive you are.
Yeah.
And there are some of us that come in with very thin veils. I recognize that some of us are more naturally intuitive than others. There are countless studies about the power of going camping and getting away from all devices, all fake lighting,
Yes.
and living in harmony with the rhythms of Mother Nature, and how quickly your symptoms of challenge go away.
2 or 3 days to reharmonize with nature, to move into nature mind, nature being.
And all of a sudden you're going to find you're more intuitive, you're more connected, you're more sensitive, you're more aware. And that's connection is the medicine. That's part of this mission. We have been taught for so long in our culture to not listen to ourselves. If something's wrong with us, you're on Google typing in, what does stomach pain mean? I would love for before you type that into your search engine for you to instead go, why do I have a stomach ache right now? Because it all starts at the most sensitive, subtle levels, and then it manifests down to the physical. By the time we're physically ill, we have missed all the other signs.
The subtle communication.
Connection is the medicine. And that's also why the yogis are here to show us what's possible when you have that deep connection. That's Ramana Maharshi.
Sage of Arunachala.
He really showed through the destruction of his physical body because he was so immersed in his connection with Source. He didn't care about his physical body, that his followers had to take care of his physical body and make him eat.
Yeah.
Because he was deteriorating right before their eyes because he didn't care about the physical anymore. He was in deep connection, deep surrender to the divine.
And from that place of deep connection, he experienced such a profound sense of fullness and wholeness and completeness and ananda bliss that we all have the capacity to connect with. It's actually inherent in the truth of who we are if we remove the veils that are covering. And so the connection is the medicine, is connecting and allowing the medicine of that connection to dissolve the veils that keep us from that feeling of wholeness and fullness and oneness that is our birthright.
To sum up what the foundation is, it's a living, breathing organism that has the mission of spreading connection as far and wide as we can to illuminate this wisdom, this innate knowing inside of as many beings as we can to alleviate whatever suffering we can alleviate. That's the mission.
It can happen in the simplest of ways. It doesn't have to be a grandiose, big effort that touches thousands or millions of people. It really needs to begin within ourselves, because we are a microcosm of the macrocosm. We are a drop of water that is connected to the whole ocean of consciousness. And so we can begin by taking care of this body, this heart, this mind, the temple that's housing the spirit. We can take care of this. We can be of service to our families, to our friends, to our communities, to the land that we live on and live near. It's just about stepping outside of ourselves, through ourselves, so that we can connect and be of service and share, because we realize that we are this overflowing love, this fullness, this wholeness. And when we connect with that, we can more easily share it. And so that's the mission, is to cultivate that medicine within us through connection, so that we can share that medicine with others, so that, as you said, we can alleviate some of the suffering that's happening on this earth.
Connection is the medicine. If anybody is interested in the programming that is currently on the docket, You can go to connectionisthemedicine.com and also contact us if you want to support this mission.
Deva, thank you so much for sharing time with me. I'm deeply appreciative for you. I love you very much.
Thank you.
And I'm grateful. And thank you, all of you who have participated through your listening. Please reach out through social media, through email, through the connectionisthemedicine.com portal and share your thoughts. We look so forward to exploring connection with you. Thank you so very much. Blessings.